Mass Effect has gotten something of a reputation the past few years for being kind of regressive in its takes on race and gender, and I never felt like that was totally fair. I mean, sure, I do have a poster of Miranda on my wall, but I just read it for the articles. But today I want to talk about the long ago of 2007, when at least someone on the BioWare team did understand how to write the two genders.
How did you end up serving on an Alliance ship?
I wanted to travel the stars, tending the wounds of tough soldiers with piercing eyes and sensitive souls. Turns out military life isn't quite as romantic as I'd imagined.
I'm truly not here to say anything controversial, but there are deeply embedded human-level flaws and motivations that permeate us, stemming from our upbringing, our ethnicity, our nurture, nature, as well as, yes, our gender. And I've always found the Krogan and the Asari to be a really fascinating exploration of the two genders, and what happens when one particular gender... to be clear, I don't mean like the parts that they have, I mean the mentality, the energy that they bring becomes ascendant over the other in a society. And the Asari will be their own video, I promise you, but for today I want to talk about the Krogan, and the wisest of them, not Wrex.
Don't tell me you haven't had a few interesting adventures.
Well, there was this one time the Turians almost wiped out our entire race. That was fun.
I love Wrex, he's great.
I can't believe my ancestors ever wore this piece of crap, but at least I've got it back.
For those of you who haven't played Mass Effect, first of all, you should. Second of all, the Krogan are a heavily armored race of Battletoads who, prior to the events of the game, nearly wiped out the entirety of the galaxy. Thanks to their fast reproduction, warrior mentality, and being built like walking tanks, the Krogan decimated the other species and were only stopped when they were infected with a galaxy-wide plague called the genophage, which halted their ability to reproduce.
They tried the same with us, but we fought them off.
It's not the same.
It seems similar enough to me.
So your people were infected with a genetic mutation? An infection that makes only a few in 1,000 children survive birth? I don't expect you to understand, but don't compare humanity's fate with the Krogan.
And one thing I find especially funny, aside from the blue-haired they-thems yelling at me in the comment section, is that media these days is obsessed with the idea of toxic masculinity, but bypasses the fact that Mass Effect wrote a culture suffering under the burden of toxic masculinity back in 2007, and did so with actual nuance and tact, showing what happens when masculine energy, mentality, is in ascendance. When the masculine desire for individual purpose and glory dominates a society completely unchecked. Hell, it supersedes their desire to actually cure the goddamn genophage.
Every Krogan is infected. Every one. And no one's rushing to find a cure.
Why don't the Krogan try to find a cure?
When was the last time you saw a Krogan scientist? You ask a Krogan, would he rather find a cure for the genophage or fight for credits? He'll choose fighting every time. We're too spread out. None of us are interested in staying in our own system. So we leave. Hire ourselves out. And most of us never go back.
One other thing I find interesting that YouTube might demonetize me for is that sex is a subject that comes up in the game, most often being brought up by one of these two species. Interesting how that worked out. And while the Asari certainly have the concept of sex for pleasure, the Krogan don't seem to at all. When sex is brought up for them, it is strictly under reproductive circumstances. I'm not even sure they even actually call it sex. I think they just always call it breeding.
Breeding.
So many games these days are just absolutely obsessed with the concept of gender while also going out of their way to prove how little they understand about gender.
So, I'm non-binary.
Who the fuck starts a conversation like that? I just sat down.
But what I love about the Krogan is that they show the actual strengths and flaws of masculinity. They are a driven and passionate species. Strong, loyal, determined. They are the force that keeps the galaxy on its toes and prepared, lest it be found complacent and be crushed beneath their heel. The Krogan are an unstoppable force keeping the galaxy moving forward and only forward. But what they are not are cooperators, collaborators, and their desire for individual glory comes at the expense of society itself. And what makes Urdnot Wrex the wisest of the Krogan, and Mass Effect's writing so good, is that he's the only one who seems to understand that.
As for the Krogan, I gave up on them long ago. The genophage infected us, but it's not what's killing us.
Lots of species have left their homes and prospered.
But they go to colonize new worlds. We're not settlers. We're warriors. We want to fight. It's just who we are, Shepard. I can't change that. Nobody can.
To use the old adage, men make houses, women make homes. So the Krogan can conquer the galaxy, sure. They can enslave every single species. They can build houses as far as the eye can see. And they'll still be doomed. Doomed to fall into the same cycle of devolving into warring clans and roving packs of raiders. Some claiming to have some noble purpose, sure, but always wasting lives and putting the actual rebuilding of society on the back burner so they can keep killing each other. You can actually draw pretty stark parallels between them and other mercenary and paramilitary groups in the real world, operating in Nigeria, Russia, Syria, Afghanistan, and that's the ultimate tragedy of the Krogan. A species where masculine tendencies have ascended for better and certainly for worse. A doomed species who can conquer and conquer and conquer and find themselves exactly where they started. So, the Asari are going to be next, but let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. I would love to get your opinion on this. It's a interesting subject, but it's nice to talk about things in a way that gaming journalists are unwilling to these days. So thank you guys for listening. If you've made it this far in the video, I think a subscribe or at least a like is definitely warranted. I mean, come on, guys. Or not, whatever you're feeling like. Hope you guys have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. You have been amazing. I have been Richard, and I'll see you in the next one.